Hi, good morning, and welcome to the ZP vlog. Every Sunday at 8 a.m. London time, we like to do a vlog and podcast. So you can follow this, let's say this vlog and podcast afterwards. They're left up on YouTube, or we also put them out as a podcast as well. So let me jump into it and say that this podcast is really a mix of mostly news from Zimmer Peacock and sometimes comment as well. And so some of the news that we've put out there this week, we have a very active team. Um, the company demographic is actually quite young, and so this was a nice image if you're watching on the vlog of some of the team in Scotland, and this team in Scotland are actually pushing for a facility in Scotland. So we just put a little note out onto the websites, and just really asking the question, if anyone can recommend a site for us in Scotland, we'd be delighted to hear about it. So we're appreciative of our team, and we're also appreciative of their ideas, and we're also appreciative that at Zimmer and Peacock, we want to be a global organization, and so having facilities in different countries. I mean, in the UK, the UK is made up of at least England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, and we actually have offices in England and in Wales, and so obviously our desire for growth means that we'll obviously look at these, look at the whole region. Now we ask a rhetorical question on the website as well this week. We ask the question, what makes a company strong in some ways, and the answer is it's really the team. Um, at Zimmer and Peacock, we have a couple of founders, but we're not under any illusion that you know it's necessarily us that makes the team strong. Um, in reality, what makes the team strong is what makes the company strong is the team. I just want to say hi to Aftab very quickly. Thank you, Aftab, for joining this morning. Nice to see you. So, this week, our management team came to London as part of, really as part of management discussions. So, thank you for the team for coming, and we do appreciate that. What makes us strong is the management team. And I suppose on a different note, I mentioned it before, but Zimmer Peacock, we attended a conference recently in Antwerp called BES 2022. And as part of that conference, we put together almost like a kind of conference diary. So I think the conference went over 4 days. And then on every day, then we wrote a sort of note, about the day and, highlights of the day. And it's really a mixture of the social events and the science events that take place at conferences. So we were delighted to attend, and we were delighted to meet all the sort of delegates. And as a sort of return of favor, we also then put out a diary really about the day, and we hope to attend again next year. So thank you to the ZP engineer who put together the diary whilst we were there. We're also just recently in Spain attended what's called the ATTD, the Advanced Technologies and Treatments for Diabetes. So this was a conference. Myself and a couple of engineers attended that, and that was really focused around CGM, continuous glucose monitoring. And so, again, we put some pictures up there, put some notes up there about that conference, and it might be interesting. So, as I say, it's a mixture of, this vlog and podcast is really a mixture of things that we've been doing during the week. And as I say, we if you're watching along on the vlog, we put a picture of the team arriving in London, and then I've also included a picture of us actually doing our meeting as well. It was pretty intense because we went from sort of 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. So, appreciated the team, we barely broke, let's say, for lunch or for break. So appreciate the team, putting in the long day there. So it is good to have these sometimes to get together and coordinate, make sure everyone stays on the same page. And that's what we were achieving with our management team this week. Now, I also put a quick video out there this week about gold electrodes versus screen printed electrodes. This is really part of our ZP Developers Zone webinar. So every Thursday at 8 a.m. London time, we have a ZP Developers Zone webinar. And this week, I did a portion of it on the subject really of carbon versus gold electrodes. I said it in the video, I said it in the webinar, but I'll say it now as well. Gold is a highly sought out commodity these days. So, the prices of gold always track upwards, and they can also fluctuate a little bit. And I'm starting to wonder, I'm not wondering, I'm starting to say that actually, if you're really wanting to commercialize a technology, and gold intrinsically feels expensive. You're competing against people who want gold for jewelry applications, people who want gold as a form of kind of, I don't want to say if it's currency, but a form of money. Gold has many applications, whereas carbon, is it's a much lower cost commodity. And so, if you're basing your assays, your electrochemical assays on carbon, then you're basing your business, let's say, on the idea that on a material that is lower cost. And even if the carbon becomes graphene, which is very popular these days, at ZP we can still make electrodes from graphene, and they are still lower cost than our gold electrodes. So I am putting a bit of a sort of message out there that if you're interested in gold electrodes, that's fine. ZP has them, but I'm at the same time saying, make sure you take a look at the carbon electrodes because they are much lower cost. Now, another video that was also put out there this week, and it was also linked to the ZP Developer Zone again, which went out at 8 a.m. On Thursday. We talked about the detection of arsenic in water, and I said it in the video, and I'll say it. That the really nice thing about electrochemistry as a technology for doing your assay development upon is there's such a good amount of literature out there. It didn't take very long to find, a paper that was in some ways seemed very simple to follow. In that paper, they had just worked on glassy carbon electrodes, and so it seemed an easy translation to go from glassy carbon electrodes to try out carbon electrodes or to try out graphene electrodes. So that was a video that we put out there this week. We also had some inquiries about detecting alcohol in water, and obviously at ZP we do have an alcohol sensor, and we test at concentrations like 2% and 5%. I was sort of testing at those concentrations because if you look at beers and alcoholic drinks, the non-spirit type drinks, they're often the concentration could be like 2 to 8%. So let's say 8% being quite strong. But we did a video out there how we covered how we actually tested the electrodes. So when you look at the data on the website, we described the experiment that we did in order to get that data. And then we also talked about how to ruggedize, let's say, our sensors so that you can actually use them in these more sort of demanding applications. So that was definitely something that we discussed this week. Now, something that we also discussed was, at Zimmer and Peacock, we are, our USP, our sort of uniqueness, is the development and manufacture of biosensors. But as people like AFTAB know as well, biosensors is really just the start of the journey. You have to consider the electronics, you have to consider the firmware, you have to consider, especially these days, the connectivity to the cloud. You have to consider your algorithms, how to turn your raw data into something meaningful. So that, those algorithms can involve filtering to get rid of noise. Those algorithms can involve then calibration, how to turn current into concentrations, those algorithms, could be rejection because you think the assay didn't run properly. Anyway, I said a lot there, but we did put a video out there, and the video itself is almost 11 minutes long, and it just talks about, at ZP, we're very used to people having an idea, and then from the idea, we will go to often the ZP Accelerator, and it's a good platform because we can literally start running the assay for real very quickly, and actually, giving the hardware back to the tester and actually getting some real world data. So we have our ZP Accelerator platform, and then we describe the journey of going to what we call MVP, minimally viable product. We talk about the journey then of taking the MVP and starting to customize it towards the actual what the customer wants to do. And then finally, there's like a third stage where you're delivering the hardware that's in line with what the customer really needs, and it can be CE marked. And so, for example, when we make these electronics, we have to take them for sort of electromagnetic testing. We have to make sure that they're not throwing out electromagnetic sort of signals that they shouldn't otherwise be doing, and make sure they're not interfered with themselves. So there's a whole lot of testing that you have to do that's not really appreciated. It's not so taught sometimes at universities, for example, but there's a lot of regulation when you really want to put something on the market, especially when a CE market. Same in the US as well. And so at ZP, we have several stages. We start off with ideas, we put them on the accelerator, we do an MVP, we start doing the customization towards what they really want. And then there's the point at which it's the actual box, let's say, that they need to go to market with. And we also end up developing that as well. And we have a whole page discussing this, and we also have on that page as well, we also show videos of people using products that ZP has helped develop and manufacture that are CE marked. And then finally, we're having at Zimmer and Peacock, we're very industry focused, and we absolutely make most of our revenues from doing work with other businesses. You can call this business to business. But we're also very supportive of our academic colleagues as well. And so we put together products that help the academic community. We sponsor many more PhDs than a company of our size really should, let's say, not should be doing, but does. And we have put a video out there this week discussing the use of screen printed electrodes for teaching electrochemistry. And I am very interested in this because when people teach electroanalytical chemistry at university, they'll often teach about glassy carbon electrodes, and then they maybe go into a teaching lab and do some testing on what's called a glassy carbon electrode. Whereas I say in the video, the glassy carbon electrode is not a good representation of what we would actually do in the real world. In the real world, electrochemistry is often applied to products that want to be low cost, easy to use, no needing to clean or polish the electrodes. And that really comes down to screen printed electrodes as an example. And so we put a video out there talking about that you can actually teach, and it's actually more economical to teach using screen printed electrodes. And I'm appreciative of my colleagues, for example, in India, who are really pulling us along on that. So it is appreciated. So what I want to do is I also want to say thank you very much for attending the ZP vlog and podcast this week. Really appreciate, the people like Aftab who come along every week and, participate in this. As you can see this week, we've been putting some diaries about the conferences we've been going to. We put some notes out about the conferences we're going to. We've had a busy week in London. We've brought the management team in from across the world. And so they were able to meet, and we were able to stay kind of coordinated. We've put a lot of technical information out there this week. We've put technical information about measuring alcohol, put technical information out there about measuring arsenic. We've put technical information out there about using screen printed electrodes in the teaching environment. So thank you very much for attending. We will be putting this out as a podcast as well. And if you've got any questions, take care and just drop us the questions and we'll try and respond to them. Don't forget, we do respond to most all technical questions in our webinar at 8 a.m. Thursdays, and that's London time. So if you've got any questions, drop them there. Okay, thanks very much. And otherwise, take care and have a good rest of the weekend and a good week.